Our virtual volunteer fair. I'm Paula Coyle, and I am one of the recruiters for Northern New England, and I'd like to welcome you to our volunteer fair this afternoon. Um, let's just jump in. So, under normal circumstances, no pandemic in place, we would be greeting you warmly at one of our tables at some community event. We'd have things to give you, handouts. We might have some treats to share. And this is all on hold. So here we are in a virtual world instead, but we hope that we can engage you well and give you the same information, even if we can't hand out treats. So you see me on the left. There I am in my pre-pandemic short haircut. And also you see my intrepid and wonderful colleague, Erica Fuller. She covers Vermont, New Hampshire, and I cover Maine, but we work together for the whole Northern New England effort. And then here we see lots of reasons to get involved. You know, it's always great to be able to make a difference in your community. Meeting new people, even in COVID, can be important as long as you're taking safety measures. It's important to meet new people and keep life moving forward. It's a great thing to add to a resume. Perhaps you're looking to network or build your network of people. This is a great way to meet new people that are of shared interest, but perhaps you've never met before, might most likely, in fact. And then sometimes people come to us because they have required hours. Maybe it's a college student who needs it for graduation, a community member who needs it, but we're happy to have volunteers come to us for a variety of reasons. I do it because it makes my heart feel good, and I happen to know it's good for our health. So it could be better than that. And the mission of the Red Cross, this is our 140th year. Our mission's been the same from the very beginning. We exist to alleviate human suffering, and that happens most in the face of emergencies, and we do that by mobilizing volunteers, an incredible group of volunteers, and also through the generosity of donors. We're not a government-funded organization, we're an international nonprofit. And then here are our lines of service. I know often people know of a couple of them maybe, but not all of them, so let me just run through them for you quickly. One of the things that you see most often in the community would be our blood services team, our biomedical team. They're the ones that are running those blood drives that pop up in your community and all around. Also happen at some of our fixed sites throughout our states, but they are a wonderful, hardworking bunch that really makes a difference. You also hear a lot about our disaster services, and that can be true helping in your local disaster, home fires, local floods, ice storms, that kind of thing. Or seasonally, we do send volunteers off to help with national disasters. And again, heartwarming and heartbreaking work all rolled into one, those national disasters and locally. When you meet people in their darkest, hardest hour and can help, it's really a wonderful feeling despite the tragedy of the moment. And then our training services are most likely known to you if you ever needed to take a CPR class or a first aid class. We also offer water safety, babysitting, many topics, all in the line of protecting human life and preventing disasters, really. And then service to the armed forces. This is actually our original line of service. Our founder was very moved when she saw the treatment of soldiers in battlefields and during the Civil War, flooded herself there to help, and it was her inspiration to found the American Red Cross. And while we do much more than that today, it is still one of our primary pillars, I can say it, and very important to us. And then last but not least, we are part of the International Red Cross. It's a huge umbrella of Red Cross organizations. And this picture represents one big initiative, which is preventing childhood diseases. So you'll see in the next slide just how big this group is. This is, oops, I beg your pardon. There we go. We have about 500 chapters of the American Red Cross in the United States, and that equates to about 500,000 volunteers. Imagine that. I should mention that at the Red Cross, on the humanitarian side of all that we do, 90% of our staff is volunteer. There's just 10% of us that can't do it without the help of our 90% volunteers. So it's imperative that we find folks to help because we can't do it alone. And then you see here that when we work with our global partners, and this is for last year, we helped more than 7 million people in their time of need. So it's really a huge net of international support. And then, here I alluded to a moment, we'll start with blood services. I'm going to run through some of our most important roles right now that are in need. And blood services has quite a few of them. You see here a blood donor, and this gives me a chance to say right now in November, this fall, we have a really dreadful low stockpile of blood. If you're someone who's given blood in the past or you thought about it, this would be the time to do it. It's not very hard to do. It takes about an hour of your time, and you schedule up front before you go, so you know exactly when you'll be there. But this role, the blood donor ambassador, is actually the person that greets you at the door if you're a donor. It's the person that makes sure that the refreshments at the canteen where a blood donor recovers is kept stocked and prepared for those folks when they come over from giving blood. You're also really the first and last person that blood donors see. So you are in a critical position to make sure that they feel warmly welcomed and, most importantly, that they're heartily thanked. Our blood donors, each one can save as many as 3 lives, and we want to be sure that if they're of a mind to come back to do it again, that they feel like they've been welcomed and they want to. And then this opportunity is available right now only in New Hampshire, Manchester to be specific, and this is a blood transportation specialist. So this is someone who, after the blood drive, will help transport those blood products to either hospitals or other Red Cross facilities. But it is a driving position. Often people will do it with a friend who helps navigate and also makes the time pass better. But right now it's just in New Hampshire. But if that's where you are, we'd love to hear of your interest. And then scheduling, this is a virtual position. This also works with blood services. This is it's helpful if you have a little experience with blood drives, either as a volunteer or as a donor, but not necessarily. We can train you up, but you are the person that will be calling those blood donor ambassadors that help at drives to get them signed up for shifts. So you are using your computer, your phone, to get them all squared away so that each blood drive has at least one blood donor ambassador. And I will say that if that volunteer role is missing at a blood drive, it's really a problem, because in that case, the nursing staff or the phlebotomist need to come forward to greet clients coming in to donate. And so that will cut back on the amount of donations that can be given in that day. So that blood donor ambassador role that I mentioned is really critical and is highly needed in most cases, with a couple of exceptions across the northern New England region. And then another virtual role also related to the onboarding or the orientation of blood donor ambassadors. This is a training role, not so much, this sort of shows a in-person role, not so much really, it's really truly a virtual role. But it is helping to make sure that they are, this is as they come into the Red Cross blood system, that they are gotten the training that they need, that they're being reviewed in the system, make sure that they're signed up for a blood drive stint, and it's basically good smooth sailing into the system for those blood donor ambassadors. And then fleet custodian, this is not specific to blood services, but does relate a lot to them. We have at the Red Cross a fleet of vehicles. Sometimes it's as big as our blood mobiles. Those are like big buses kinds of things that travel, but it's also small regular passenger cars. We have a lot that are ready to respond to emergencies, or for someone like me as a recruiter, when things open back up again, I will go traveling around looking for volunteers. We also have what we call our ERBs, those are our emergency response vehicles. They're more like oversized box trucks. So there's a large fleet, and you don't have to be the one that is handy and does these skills like oil changes and tire rotations, but you would be someone who loves vehicles and loves to keep track of what they need and is happy to take vehicles to get what they need. This is actually a very important role for us. You work fairly independently, but it's not considered a virtual role. And then we get to disaster services. These are the folks that are at the ready to respond in the local community when there's a disaster. Like I said, it could be a home fire, it could be an ice event like an ice storm, it could be a flood, but they stay to their local county community. And so you would be on call or take a shift. It depends on the area if you'll take a couple shifts during a month or if you'll be on a call down list. But basically, when you get the call, you will be going off to a situation where people are definitely in peril. They've lost either a home, they're lost electricity, they've lost whatever, but you're there to help them get the services that they need. If someone has lost their home, Red Cross is in a position to help them with funds to get them a place to stay for the night, and we can also connect them with other resources in the community and also in the Red Cross community. So let me go to the next slide and give you some details. On that disaster action team, there's someone who specializes in recovery casework. And this would be the person that the next day calls those clients and asks them how they're doing. Oftentimes, Red Cross can offer immediate support, but we need to make sure that clients are getting connected to the other community services that will build the rest of that safety net for them. So it could be in getting more clothes, furniture, more food, more funds. It's just a matter of following up to make sure that those clients feel forward facing and that they're able to take the step forward toward recovery. And then also for the DAT responder, the disaster action team responder that's at the disaster scene, if you find that clients are suffering, whether they are someone who needs some spiritual support, they might need some mental health support, or perhaps they've lost some medications or even durable goods like a wheelchair or a walker or something. We have Red Cross volunteers with all these specialties at the ready to help. And for example, in the health services, they can replace prescriptions, they can replace eyeglasses, they can replace all those durable goods. And we also need people with these professional skills to volunteer with Red Cross. So if that happens to be you, we'd love to talk to you about that because volunteers fill all these roles. Then we'll talk a little bit about international services. That's a part of the armed services line of service. We have a role called Restoring Family Links, known as RFL, caseworker, Restoring Family Links. I can give you an example. This is a situation where someone will come to us who has lost a loved one, not lost in the passed away sense, lost in the world sense. And so it could be, one current example is some of our new Mainers. I know them for up close and personal experience, and they sometimes will flee so quickly from their home country that they lose track of their loved ones. Maybe they've lost their documents that had phone numbers. Maybe they've lost their cell phone that had those numbers. And they are truly lost in the world without their relatives. And so Red Cross will, from this end, reach to our Red Cross partners in the home country of those the person they're working with, and we will have Red Crossers at that side. Actually, sometimes they'll even go to the client's home, and sometimes you see that they've connected them by telephone, which is just an amazing thing to see. It's just, I can't tell you how gratifying this is. So if you like to, this would be considered a virtual role. If you like to work from home, you like to make things happen when they come your way, this would be a great role for you. And then, as I mentioned, we run everything with volunteers. Our communications team is a hardy team of 2 for all 3 states, and so they do need volunteers to help them. And right now they're focused on getting some folks in each of our states that can help them with media relations. And then also they're looking for a writer who would work with them and be region-wide for all 3 states. So if you have experience at all with media relations or you're a writer, please let us know. They are very hungry for help. And this is true from our development team too. They're looking for some fundraising stewardship volunteers, and these would be folks that would help them in dealing with our donors. Particularly, I think it's with thank yous and making sure that they're treating our donors with grace and care. And that would be something that will be opening up more and more as our offices open up. But Chittenden would be our Burlington office, Hillsborough would be our Concord office, and then Cumberland would be our Portland office. So for now, they could be virtual, but I think probably they will be in person, hopefully, in the not too terribly distant future. And then here's just some, I'd already mentioned fundraising and their stewardship position. We also have volunteers who are called community volunteer leads, and they work with our executive directors to help build relationships within different communities across our region. So if you're someone who is, you know people, you love to talk to people, you're well known in your area, you might be a perfect candidate for that community volunteer lead position. We also have internships, often for college students, sometimes high school students, and clubs for the same, high school and college. I just mentioned that, so in case you are someone who has a teen, that might be something they could start at their high school, or if you're someone who loves working with youth and maybe you have a little experience with that, every club has a leader who comes from Red Cross. They also have typically an advisor at their home school, but this person serves as the Red Cross connection for that club and makes sure that they're clear on how they can serve the Red Cross as a Red Cross club. Also, board members are always being sought. These tend to be the people that are senior in our communities, but if you think you're someone of that nature, or you know someone who might be, we're always eager to talk to people who are potential board members. And then these last two are right in my own wheelhouse, so to speak, in the volunteer services team. The engagement team, they do both the entrance part of volunteers, like they're the welcoming team for volunteers. They help them through the volunteer application process and then welcome them aboard with orientation. And then we also have recruitment help with our mighty team, Erica and I. We need as much recruitment help on the ground as we can get, especially in this virtual world we're in right now. If you're someone who likes to post on social media, if you're someone who has connections with community organizations that you can still connect us to in a virtual way, we would love to hear from you. And then just a word about COVID. Red Cross is dedicated to making sure everyone stays as safe as possible. And so we've been very much in line with the CDC, and we've been covering distancing and cleaning for many, many months now. The good news is that we've developed pretty much all of our trainings are now virtual, and those have created great workarounds. So we have found that though our mission delivery looks different, we have had not to lose anything from our mission delivery. So maybe we did things remotely, but we still were able to support clients, support disasters, support our armed service members, support our network of clients in every way. And then this is a link to sign up. There are many ways to get to that application. You could even Google it, but here it is for you if you want to jot it down. I'll leave it here just for a moment. You'll find often that the application will ask for your zip code, and the reason it does that is to figure out which positions are open close to you, and then you can often tell it how many miles you're willing to travel. But it's a great way to get started. You can see the options that we have available, and you can find the link and do just that. And then here's where I just want you to reflect a little bit. You've heard my words, you've seen my slides, and I just wanted to let you know that this is the process. If you decide to apply with us, you'll submit your application online following that link I just had up for a while. Then you just wait a little while our volunteer screeners, who screen volunteers, contacts you. They'll either do that by email, which sometimes ends up in your spam, so do watch out for them, or they'll call you. If it's an unknown number, which it's sure to be, they will leave a message, so just be sure that you respond to them when you hear from them. Once you have a talk with them, they'll talk with you a little bit about the options again in your region, make sure that the one that you think is good for you really fits your schedule and your interests overall. And then once that happens, they will send your information over to your now supervisor. Whichever line of service you're in, you'll have a supervisor who will provide guidance to you. And they will be the ones that will tell you which trainings are important for you to take. And then soon thereafter, as soon as you're trained up, you'll be signing up for shifts to serve, whatever that is. And then we ask that you log your volunteer hours in your volunteer connection portal. You'll learn all about that. It's an online site that becomes your own page, your own portal, and you have access to that, and it's where you log your hours. And we ask you to do that for two reasons. One is that we want to be sure to know when to thank you profusely for your time, but we also need to report that data to the national headquarters, and we want to be sure we get an accurate count of our volunteer hours. So we ask you to keep that in mind, and please do that every time you do hours. And then I wonder if you just reflect on this for me. I know we're not together other than virtually here, but might you be thinking that you'll share this information with some of your loved ones or people you know from your work or maybe your home community? Might you just be ready to sign up? That would be wonderful news to me. Maybe you'll just stick it in your back pocket and keep it, for a future opportunity to think about. Or maybe you're just going to toss it over your shoulder. And if that's the case, okay. But if you do think of others that you might know that would be interested, I'd be very thankful if you'd pass the word along. And then here's a final slide. This is my contact information. Again, I'm Paula Coyle and I cover Maine. And then my colleague Erica Fuller is in Vermont and she covers Vermont, New Hampshire. That's our contact information there. I'll leave this slide up for a moment. So if you want to write some down, you can. You could also review this slideshow again. And there again is that link that I hope you will follow. I really appreciate that you've come and joined me here today. I would love to hear from you wherever you are in Northern New England or even another state. I'm happy to refer you to one of my colleagues. I know the other recruiters and they are always delighted when someone shares a candidate. So please consider joining us. Volunteering is healthy and we'd love to see you. Take good care. Bye-bye.